Mossab Abu Toha, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Aaron and Kathy.
Talk to us about what you're hearing from your loved ones in Gaza.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is more suffering, more complaints about the lack of food, the lack of medicine, the lack of formula for the kids, the lack of diapers. Even no one's talking about the fact that people in Gaza for a long time started using plastic bags, to put on their children in lieu of diapers.
Instead of diapers.
Yeah. This is even when I was in Gaza in October and November. They started doing that in November. I mean, Israel shut everything down. People focus on the lack of electricity, of fuel, of medicine, but no one talks about the lack of diapers, the lack of clothes. Many children grew up and they don't have new clothes to put on. It's very difficult to find the clothes in Gaza. Mainly people are struggling to find water, to find food, to find medicine, to find diapers. Even the elderly, by the way, because we care about children, we care about every single one. And we care also about our parents and siblings, but also we care about the elderly people. My father's uncle's wife is 85 years old. She's the husband of my father's brother. She is 85 years old.
The wife of your grandfather's brother, yeah.
Yeah, and they cannot find diapers for their mother who is about to die. I mean, she could die any moment. I mean, she's sick. She's an elderly woman, but they need diapers for their mother, an 85-year-old mother who is about to die any moment. She's very sick, and my father's cousin, the son of that mother, he talks to me in the phone. He tells me if there is diaper, it is very, very expensive. One piece of diaper, it costs them about $30. If it's there, I mean, you can't. It's very, very difficult to find these things. But I don't know how the people here in this country, how people in Europe, when they care about their parents and visiting them, bringing them everything. I mean, do you really not think about the elderly people in Gaza, how they're struggling, how they need medicine, how they even need clothes, clean clothes, or even clean water? How do you spend your day, taking care of your parents who are elderly, and you never think about the elderly people in Gaza. That's 22 months of ongoing genocide. That's not only about the killing of the people there, but I mean elderly people. I mean, my heart broke when my father's cousin told me about his mother. He was about to cry, really. He told me, I mean, I can't stand looking at my mother. We need to change her diapers and there's no diaper. So this is, it's not only about food. I mean, people complain about the food. People complain about, water. People complain about the fact that Israel keeps kicking them out of one place that they have just moved to after they were forced out of their houses and tents. So people are tired. People say, you know what? I hope the next missile hits me, and I want to die. I just want to don't continue to run from this place to another place, from stand in this line and get shot at. And so people are tired. It's not only about the killing. People are dying before are killed.
Can you talk about the change in terms of getting aid? So what it was like before the Israel and the U.S. basically destroyed the UN aid distribution system, how people would get aid then, to what it means now. And I put aid in quotes because what they're getting from the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation includes massacres, because Israel and mercenaries have been shooting at people.
These are death sites. Yeah, these are death sites. So first of all, we all agree on one thing, which is that this is not a humanitarian foundation, because if you want to do a humanitarian work, you deliver the food to the people who need it. You don't have them walk miles and miles when there's no transportation, when their bodies could barely help them walk 5 or 10 miles. So there is nothing humanitarian about it. And the second thing, the fact that it is located, or they are put in places where the Israeli army is heavily present. Also, these so-called humanitarian sites, none of them exist in North Gaza, and that's part of the Israeli plan of emptying North Gaza. Of course, after they destroyed much of the place. If you look at photos and videos from Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia, it's rare that you can find any building still standing. What's happening is that two people get killed in two ways. People either go to these so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation sites in Rafah, in Khan Yunis, and also near the Netzarim corridor. So people go there in the very early hours of the morning before the sites open. So people spend hours and hours there waiting for the gates to open. Sometimes, I mean, based on what I hear from friends and family members, sometimes the people who are running these sites, they would turn on a light, which is a signal that, okay, now it's time to go. And they would go in, and then there would be another sign that, okay, it's shut now. So anyone who stays there for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, they would be shot at, they would be killed. So this is one of the stories that I hear. The other stories, of course, people who are waiting maybe in the early hours in the morning, waiting, for aid, and then the Israelis start shooting at them using tank fire, using machine guns, and sometimes some machine guns are put on cranes. So these are machine guns that there are no Israeli soldiers inside. There are no tanks, but this is based on more than one eyewitness. They told me that there were some cranes, and on them are mounted some machine guns that are controlled from afar. So this is the first way is people go to these sites and they know that they could be shot at. Many of them were killed. And the other way that people try to get food is waiting on the streets, where the food trucks that are going sometimes to the WFP, World Food Program, and other organizations, especially in the past few days. So people would be waiting in the street, knowing that this is the passage which the trucks would take. So they would wait there, and sometimes Israel would bomb these groups of people who are waiting there. Right? The latest escalation was when people started going to Beit Lahia, north of Gaza. They went to Beit Lahia, and that was on Sunday when I lost a second cousin of mine. In large numbers, they went to Beit Lahia, about a mile maybe from the Zikim aid crossing, which is between Beit Lahia and Israel. So they were waiting in large numbers there. They knew that the aid trucks were leaving through that crossing. So they waited I think it was a mile away. And then Israel, once the trucks left the Israeli side of the crossing, the Israelis fired tank shells on people. And my wife's brother was wounded in that tank shelling, and a cousin, and they are still hospitalized in a field hospital in Deir al-Balah. There is a dangerous thing but we need to do more investigation about this. I heard at least two people who were in Beit Lahia at the time when Israel killed about maybe 70, 80 people on Sunday. One of them was my second cousin, Ali Abu Toha. I heard at least two people telling me that one of the drivers of the aid trucks was told by the Israeli soldiers that he must not stop until he reaches an area near a mosque on the beach, which is called Al-Khalidi Mosque, which is about maybe 2 miles away from the crossing, the aid crossing. And he was told if he stops before he reaches that area, the truck would be bombed. And that is why the aid trucks, ran people over. I talked to one of my neighbors, and he told me his leg was amputated. That was on Tuesday, 2 days ago. I talked to him video call in the American Field Hospital in Deir al-Balah, and I asked him how did he lose his leg. He told me the truck ran me over. And then later I heard about these testimonies that the aid truck drivers were ordered not to stop, even if he had to run people over. Sometimes they would go back, to evade, the population, the large number of people, and he would crush people on both ways. So he couldn't stop because he was given orders by the Israeli soldiers not to stop until he reaches that area. So this is based at least on 2 eyewitnesses that I talked to. And I think there needs to be investigation about this.
Your friend who had the amputation, did he have anesthesia?
I really don't know. I didn't ask him about that. But the shocking thing is that when I was talking to my brother-in-law and his cousin, who were injured in a tank shell, while they were passing the phone to each other, I saw someone on a hospital cot there in that same room. I mean, I didn't know who that was, really. And then when the phone was passed back to my brother-in-law, someone was sitting next to him, and it was the brother of the person on the hospital cot. And he told me, Muayyad is here, your friend. And I said, what? Muayyad? And then he passed the phone to Muayyad, the person with the amputated leg. I couldn't recognize him from the video.
Because he's so skinny?
And he told me that he was run over by the aid truck, and he lost his leg. And when he was taken to the field hospital in Deir al-Balah, which is a long distance from where the massacre took place, he had to lie on the floor of the hospital for hours before the doctors came to operate on him, because there were other people with severely critical wounds. And Muayyad is a father of children, by the way. And he and his brothers ran a barbecue restaurant in Beit Laia. And of course, everything is gone. The restaurant, the house, the neighborhood, the city itself is gone. So someone like Muayyad, someone who I used to play soccer with, will no longer be able to play soccer. Now he's unable to provide for his wife and 2 children, assuming that there's something to provide his family with.
I'm so sorry.
All these stories that I'm telling you, it's just from 4 days ago.
Right.
Over the past 4 days.
And how many family members have you lost as of this point?
So, I did not really count, because at one point, I started to count how many members of my family were still alive. And then a few days, my wife came to me and she took the notebook from me. She said, don't do that. I swear to God, a few days later, the Israeli soldiers and tanks besieged my aunt's house in Fallujah, which is in Jabalia camp. And 20 hours later, they bombed the house. 15 people were killed, including a first cousin, my great aunt Fatima Dibes, and 13 other members of that family. The bodies of my great aunt is still buried under the rubble. So I really don't want to count how many members of my family are still alive, how many were killed. It's a bad omen for me. I tried to do it one time in October 2024, and a few days later, my aunt's house was besieged. And by the way, my aunt, the aunt I'm talking about, survived, but she was wounded. She had 5 daughters. One of them was killed, Samad Dibis, 7 years old. The other daughters were wounded, and I talked to them, and they are really starved by this blockade and genocide. But I don't want to count, at least in one airstrike in October 2023, 30 members of my family, my father's cousin, his wife, their children and their grandchildren, 30 people in one airstrike.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's unfathomable. And knowing that our government is doing this, like we're paying taxes to support this. I want to ask you about a development that just happened Thursday. This is a tweet from Steve Witkoff. He says, "We have decided to bring our team home from Doha consultations after the latest response from Hamas, which clearly shows a lack of desire to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. While the mediators have made a great effort, Hamas does not appear to be coordinated or acting in good faith. We will now consider alternative options to bring the hostages home and try to create a more stable environment for the people of Gaza. It is a shame that Hamas has acted in this selfish way. We are resolute in seeking an end to this conflict and a permanent peace in Gaza." So what are your thoughts on that comment?
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, first of all, the word selfish. I mean, I don't have to agree or disagree with what he's saying, but I'm just commenting as a Palestinian refugee. So the word selfish, I think he should apply it to the Israelis who are expanding their settlements in the West Bank. What is more selfish than stealing and killing people, stealing people's lands and killing more and more people? Okay, this is one thing. I'm not sure if he made a comment like that when Israel refused did not agree to a ceasefire resolution that Hamas agreed to, but they asked the same thing. Okay, so for me, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Israel, for me the most important thing is to stop the killing. I mean, why don't we agree and disagree while no more
Right.
families in Gaza are being erased by Israel? Right? Okay, you can agree, you can disagree, you can say they are selfish, they are selfless, they are good, I don't care what you think about them, but just stop the killing. Because from what I see, it seems like no matter what happens, whether Hamas agrees to a 60-day ceasefire, just like they agreed in January, whether they agreed or not, there is no guarantee that Israel is not going to resume the genocide. This is something that we watched, happening in March 2023 when Israel carried out a series of airstrikes that killed about 400-500 people in just an hour. So it is unbelievable that the American administration is willing to go that far to cover up for Israel and its crimes. I think the United States is not only complicit, they are taking part in the genocide in Gaza and also in the occupation of the West Bank and other areas. What is the one thing that the United States did, to stop Israel from not only killing people in Gaza, but also stopping the Israeli illegal settlements in the West Bank? What is one step that they did, to stop Israel? Okay, you did something wrong, stop here. Even though they said it is, at one point they said that these settlements are illegal. Over the past years, they said these settlements are illegal. Okay, so what is the one thing that you did, in response to this illegal act by Israel? None. So America is concerned about the safety and security of Israel, a country that is occupying other people and other people's land. So who is concerned about our security as a people who are living under occupation? I'm not sure who people should be worried about. The security, whose security people should be concerned about? The security of an occupying country, and a country that has every kind of weapons in the world, or the security of the people who are living under occupation for 77 years and now under genocide for 22 months? How is it possible that our security is not on the table of anyone, whether it's an Arab country or a Western country? How is our safety not on the table? And I tell you why. Because our humanity is not considered. So we do not have enough humanity for people to see that, these people have rights. These people deserve, to be protected, from a nuclear country, right? So this is the problem. The problem is not with Witkoff, with his statement, with what he thinks about Hamas, or with what he thinks about Israel. The thing is that we are not considered as human beings. We are not considered as human. Otherwise, Israel would not be allowed to carry on its land theft, the bombing of tents, the bombing of hospitals, of schools, because they are going to use the same excuse. Hamas uses hospitals. Hamas uses the human shield. Hamas uses... Okay, you know what? Here's the thing. Let's say Hamas is criminal. Why do you kill me? Why do you kill families? So if they are hiding behind civilians, so you know that, let's say they hide behind civilians, okay? So why do you kill civilians? Are you falling into the trap that Hamas is setting for you? So they create things up and they do evil things, and they use evil excuses. And they continue using the same thing. Hamas, for example, yesterday on Sky News, the spokesperson of the Israeli government said, Hamas designed this to harm the Palestinian people. Wow. So what about 1948 when my grandparents were expelled from Jaffa? Did Hamas design the Nakba for the Palestinian people? Did Hamas design the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza Strip in 1967? Right? But for me as Palestinian, our demands are clear. As a Palestinian refugee, we have to enjoy every single right that everyone on earth deserves to enjoy. Freedom from occupation, from suppression, from oppression. We have the right to be humanized just like anyone else in the world. Our names should be, when we are killed or imprisoned, everyone needs to humanize us on media, because we are dehumanized. We are treated as numbers. And one of the latest piece in the New York Times by Patrick Kingsley, the New York Times bureau chief, after Israel killed about 100 people near the Zikim aid crossing, the headline was not that Israel killed these people, or how catastrophic it is for these people and their families. No, it was something that highlighted for him and the New York Times Israel's failure, in its plan for post-war in Gaza. So it's something. It is. So we are not even statistics. We are just something that highlights something for journalists and maybe critics and analysts. Yeah, we are not. I mean, we are not important in ourselves. We just highlight, how the system works, where it fails, Yeah, something like that. So we are. It's unbelievable, this genocide. It's not only about the killing, but also we are killed twice. The way they portray us, the way they use the story of us being killed every day. To understand how Israel plan is working or not working. No, it's not working. So killed 100, it means it's not gonna work. So let's try a different means.
And because Israel has impunity, Israeli ministers feel entitled to be honest about their plans, which is ethnic cleansing and moving back in the illegal Jewish settlers that used to steal land in Gaza. This is a headline from an Israeli news outlet. Israel's heritage minister, Amichai Eliyahu, says Israel racing ahead to wipe out Gaza will make it Jewish. And I mean, what are your thoughts on the prospect of your land not only being ethnically cleansed, but having these fanatical Jewish settlers come back and steal it?
Okay, so for me, again, as a Palestinian refugee, so I'm talking here as a Palestinian refugee always, because this is who I am. We, as Palestinians, we do not have any place else to go to. And we refuse to leave Palestine because this is the only place we know. Okay? Our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, you can count as far as you want, they do not know any country other than Palestine. Right? We did not come from other countries. We come from that land. So we will not leave Gaza. We will return to Gaza. People will stay in Gaza, even if they had to leave it, they will return, because this is the only place we know, and this is the only place we feel home. Home for us is Palestine. So no one can take that home from us. I mean, if I was, still alive, if I was born in 1948 and before, I mean, I would have no problem with anyone living in Palestine. Be them Jews, Christians, atheists, Hindus, any place. I mean, anyone has the right to live anywhere, right? But you can't just exist in my place. Not to exist in my place. You kill me, and then you push me away, and then you deny that I existed.
Right.
So I mean, anyone, every person has the right to live anywhere they want, as long as they live equally with other people, as long as they do not try to erase the other people who live there and who lived there for as long as we can remember. Palestine is the only place we know. We don't have our other passports that can allow us to go to other countries. We are Palestinians, and this is the only place we know, and this is the only place we want to know.
And there were Palestinian Jews living there before.
Yes, sure.
That wasn't an issue. The issue was when there was the decision to become as they call it, a demographic majority, and to turn it into a Jewish state, which is not coexistence, which is not living equally with people.
Yeah, I mean, the Jewish people went through, a Holocaust, and that Holocaust was in Europe. It was not in Palestine. It was not in Jaffa. It was not in Gaza.
Right.
So it's for me, it is unbelievable that the Jewish people were persecuted in Europe. They were killed by the millions, and now they were helped, to go to Palestine, and they were encouraged, and supported in doing so by the same countries. And until today, Germany, for example, they are encouraged, and they are supported, and they are protected by the same countries who killed them.
Right.
Who's going to protect us as Palestinians? Okay, where are we in this equation?
Yeah, it's such an important point. The Holocaust did not happen in Palestine. Well, there's another Holocaust now, but the Holocaust of the Nazi Holocaust was not perpetuated by Palestinians. And people love to think that, Europe really felt guilty about what happened to the Jews. So after the war, that's why they supported the state of Israel. Of course, if they felt guilty about what had happened, they would have let the Jews in during the Holocaust and then after the Holocaust. But they didn't want that. So they sent them to Palestine. Like that's another aspect of it, right? Is that this was such a colonial project,
it's
and
like,
a great way to not have to bring in the people that you claim to care about.
it's just like when someone who's kind-hearted, feels sorry for someone who's really starved, and then they steal that loaf of bread from someone who only has that loaf of bread, and then give it to the other person. And I feel sorry because I already took your loaf of bread, and then I'm gonna steal that another loaf of bread from someone and give it to you. That same one, that Palestinian, is left with no bread and they are starved to death. This is what's happening. If you want to be generous with anyone, be generous, using what you have, what you possess, not what other people. Right. I mean, that's the only land we know. Palestine is the only land we know. And we don't want to know any other country, be it Arab or Western country. We don't need to know any other countries.
Well, Sab, why don't we wrap with a reading from you, if you're comfortable doing that now. Something you wrote recently.
Yeah, there is a poem that I posted yesterday, but in fact, I wrote that poem in January 2024, but I post it again because there is a context here. So the poem I wrote is as follows. He left home to buy some bread for his kids. News of his death made it home, but not the bread. No bread. Death sits to eat whoever remains of the kids. No need for a table, no need for bread. So in January 2024, there were still some bakeries, the United Nations Relief and Work Agency was distributing bread to the people who need it, with dignity. But and some people, when they are back, to their homes, they would be killed in an airstrike. So neither the bread nor the father would make it home to their families. So nowadays, people are not dying because as they are carrying bread, they are killed as they try to get flour for their families. So it is very relevant. It is a very relevant poem because people in Gaza have always been struggling to provide for their families, especially bread. I mean, I talk to people in Gaza, family and friends, and always they tell me, I mean, I have no problem, It's not that I have no problem, but it seems like it is less tragic to die in a tent, in an airstrike, than to die while you are hungry. So people say, I talked to my mother-in-law, for example. She said, the problem now is not the airstrike, it's not the drones, it's not the bombs. It's just that we don't have food. This is what people are telling me these days. People want to eat, even if they are going to be killed. They can't stop the killing, but they can't just, stay in their tents while their children are crying and out of hunger. How can you just imagine, Katie and Aaron, you're sitting in a tent and there are F-16, there are F-35, and there are drones in the sky. They could drop a bomb and kill you. But I mean, just imagine you're sitting there for 12 hours and there is no food there. There is no water. What do you do? How are you going to talk to your kids? At one point, I was listening in the background when Samah, 6 years old, was in a tent with my mother-in-law in Gaza City. That was just 2 weeks ago. And she was crying. She said, I want to eat. I'm hungry. And then my mother-in-law told her, Samah, just, be patient. When it's sunset, we will have some food. Just try to drink some water. So they were forcing, unfortunately, they were forcing little babies to fast for 12 hours or maybe for 15 hours because the fathers and the brothers are outside looking for food, knowing that they could not come back with anything or they could not come back at all.
Is this changing the minds of anyone? Do you know, in Israel? It doesn't seem like it, but it does this like slow motion starvation. Is anyone saying, okay, this is too much? Okay, I supported this before, but now this is just too much, this slow, deliberate starvation.
I think that the Israeli people many of them have been convinced that the people in Gaza are animals, or even not animals. I mean, animals are being treated better than human beings, especially here in the United States and in Israel. So I think unfortunately people in Israel have been convinced that these people even are less than animals. The same way the Nazis were treating the Jewish people in Europe.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that this is happening. It's not even fiction. It's beyond fiction.
the irony of a country that claimed to be founded to never in the name of never again, which is doing so many of the things that the Nazis did.
This is harming. This is very harmful for the Jewish people, by the way, because if a country, if a group of people who survived the Holocaust are doing something that is not less horrible than what happened, especially not because of what Israel is doing per se, but because of the fact that this is live streamed, people are seeing what's happening. Right. It's not something that we are told about a month later or 2 weeks later. That did you hear about the boy who died of starvation in the tent with his mother? Yeah, I heard that story from a journalist there. No, you watched the video. You watched the video. You watch the video as a skeleton lies on a hospital cot. And sometimes you watch videos of babies, who are about to die, and no one is doing anything. And by the way, starvation, to be clear, is not only about lack of food. It's also about lack of food supplement and formula for the kids, because a baby who is 1 year old or 5 months old, they don't need flour, right? They need life-saving supplements, like formula, like medicine. So that's why some of the people who died, not only because there was no flour, there was no fresh vegetable or fruit, by the way. People in Gaza not only need flour and rice and lentils. People need to eat fresh fruit. People have been deprived for months. I know some friends who have never eaten any fruit or vegetable for 20 months at least. Some people have never eaten meat at all. So you can't just give people some flour, some rice, and say, "Oh, we are not starving them." For me, not allowing in meat, vegetable, and fruit, this is a kind of starvation. I want to eat healthy food, not only bread, because bread is not totally healthy, and sugar is not totally healthy, right? And rice, it doesn't make me a healthy person. I need to eat fruit and vegetables.
I'm so sorry about this. And is there anything else you want to make sure that our audience knows, people watching, listening know?
I hope that people everywhere in the world, especially in the United States, would keep calling and and emailing their representatives and senators, asking them to stop this genocide. If they can't stop it, they must stop justifying it and stop voting any weapon shipments to Israel, or stop vetoing any resolution that could lead to an end, not only to the genocide, but to the occupation of Palestinian lands and the suppression of the Palestinians.
Mossab Abu Tawad, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.